Hey everybody, welcome to the Talking Minds podcast. Before I start this podcast, I just want to make you aware that this is a pretty lengthy podcast, and I'm going to be talking today about an experience that happened to me whilst working with a colleague, and it may disrupt some of your thoughts around religion and around spirituality, and would really love you to have an open mind in this podcast. There may be some aspects that might affect you, so delve in. Would love your comments, and I'm going to leave you with a phrase from Neil Donald Walsh that we're going to come back to in this podcast, and it's: the deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery but a process of creation. You are not discovering yourself but creating yourself anew. Seek, therefore, not to find out who you are, but seek to determine who you want to be.
Welcome to the Talking Minds podcast.
Come join us as we chat about a whole host of mindset-related issues, giving you both the male and female perspective. Don't miss out on the exciting interviews we'll be conducting with some truly inspirational guests. My name's Marcus Matthews, and I'm a rapid transformational therapist whose quest is to transform people's minds to reach their own personal greatness.
My name is Tracy Carroll. I am a rapid transformational therapy practitioner, and my mission is to end the stigma surrounding mental health issues and show people they no longer need to suffer in silence.
Get going and let the podcast begin. Hello everybody, welcome to the Talking Minds podcast, and Tracy's here. Tracy's back.
I'm back.
Tracy's back. I feel complete and whole. We've got the podcast back. Okay, now I'm going to put a warning on this one. Okay, for anybody who's listening to this, you need to listen to this with an open mind, no judgment. You can judge, it's fine. That's your bag, okay? Because I'm going to be really open about something today. Tracy hasn't a clue what the subject matter is. I've given her a little bit of an inkling. She hasn't a clue. So any reaction that comes from Tracy, whether that be, yeah, bullshit, or oh my God, or she starts laughing, or laughter, okay?
It's all completely genuine and honest, because he's literally just said to me, let's just do this. So
So honestly, this could be a career killer. I'm just going to put this out there. This could be either the greatest podcast I've ever done or a complete flop. Okay, so I'm just going to put that. So if that whets your appetite, brilliant. Okay, I'm gonna start with what's the word I'm gonna use? I'm gonna use the word preloaded. I don't know if that's the right word. Okay, so I've been, as Tracy and I do, and as many therapists and coaches do, we're constantly trying to learn. We're trying to constantly evolve. That's how we give so much quality to our clients, because we're just on that journey a little bit ahead of everybody else. So I've obviously read lots of books, listened to podcasts, and there's one person who kept coming up in a lot of people's stories, and a lot of people who are really smashing it out there as coaches and mentors. And that was this guy called Neil Donald Walsh. And he wrote this book called Conversations with God. Now, I even wrote this. I've got some notes. I never make notes for my podcast, by the way. So I've made notes. So this is how serious I'm taking this. Okay. So I would not define myself as religious. Okay. I went to Sunday school when I was younger, and there were more questions than answers. Now, I would define myself as being openly spiritual. However, being an ex-cop, being not mistrusting, but you know this, I'm always looking for the answer. Yeah. I'm kind of quite scientific. Everything starts with why, as far as I'm concerned. Why does that happen? Why did this? Looking for the proof. And Tracy has kicked my ass, I don't know how many times, on stuff like law of attraction and all the rest of it. Okay, so I've come a bit further forward than where I was. Okay, I'm more open now to the. Good. I'm more open to the concept. And boy, am I more open to the concept now than I ever was. Okay, so at the start of the podcast, just before it started, I read out a quote. I'm going to read it out again. And it's not that this quote has, it's from Neil Donald Walsh. It's not that this quote has any semblance, but I want to use it as a foundation, because as Tracy and I will always say, and many people will say, is that you are the creator of everything that you do. Okay, you are the person that creates those feelings, creates those fears. I've posted this out enough times that people know that's what it is, but you need to know why, and that's the power of RTT. And we're going to go on to that in a second. But the quote was, the deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery, but a process of creation. You are not discovering yourself, but creating yourself anew. Seek, therefore, not to find out who you are, but seek to determine who you want to be. Now, I'm going to read that again, because that phrase is kind of the foundation of. Now, I literally just Googled that 5 minutes before we started. I went Neil Donald Walsh quotes. That was the first one on the list. So I'm looking at that as a sign. Okay.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
It is.
I think that just in itself, just regardless of anyone's situation, gives them the hope that it is down to them.
Yeah.
And therefore they can absolutely create what they want, rather than being a victim of circumstance.
Absolutely. So, but I want to take that to the next level. Okay, we're taking that to the next level. The other thing that I want to say is the other thing that I was working with the owner of Integral Health, which is where I work from. And unfortunately, because of COVID, the physical building we're having to close that down. So that's being reborn online. We're doing some stuff online. That's by the by. But Ben he follows a lot of the Ken Wilber stuff, integral theory, and he introduced me to the shadow. So Carl Jung's work. So anybody who's out there who's a psychologist, anybody who's studying the mind will know about Carl Jung's work, and it's about our ego and our shadow. Okay, so again, I've read the Donald Walsh stuff. I've done a course with Ben on the shadow side, and we did some shadow work. So this is all part of a path of stuff that's happened that's come to a conclusion yesterday. Okay. Your face is a picture. It's like, where the hell is he going with this? Right.
I'm not sitting on the edge.
Okay, right. So both me and Tracy, our founding toolkit that we use to help people is Rapid Transformational Therapy, which was designed by our amazing mentor, Marissa Peer. Now, I literally now say that what is RTT? It's dead simple. It's you are breaking the feeling away from the story and changing that feeling to be a new one. It's practical neuroscience, simple as. And Marissa started to use that phrase now. People that have been speaking to us said, what you do is actually practical neuroscience. And it is, and I've talked about the polyvagal theory, and I've talked about all the science stuff. So this is neuroscience. Okay, yeah, this is neuroscience, what we do.
We're rewiring.
We are rewiring. Okay, so I've done obviously a lot on my mind, my mental health, as have you. Mm-hmm. So the inside of the shop is nice and sparkly. We're always adjusting, but it's nice and sparkly. The outside of the shop, not so much. It's getting there, but not so much. So if we go back to what we just said about everybody's the creator of their reality, okay?
Yeah.
I can make as many excuses for holding the weight on my stomach, all right? But at the end of the day, it's down to me. I could say my mum gave me chocolate biscuits and that's why I'm fat. Bullshit. That's not the reason. Okay. And I know that. And I know that I've felt it. I've gone through this process. So I connected with another therapist, another RTT therapist, Lauren Daniel. She's based in South Africa and she is a weight reduction expert. Notice I didn't say weight loss. I said weight reduction expert. Yeah. See, I did it. I'm getting better. So I spoke to Lauren and we connected and we get on really, really well. So I booked the session in. As Marissa would say, she's reassuringly expensive, but very good. So that went on the credit card. But I needed to do it. So that was the first step, is that fear. So when we looked at that facts of abundance stuff we've done, I've got a choice there. Good old choice. Do I stay where I am or do I actually delve into this, go into the pain, go into where it is? What I was expecting is that I wanted to reduce my waistline. That was the aim. What came out yesterday was nothing other than bizarre. And and I know that it's never about the thing.
It's never about the thing. Although you're wondering, are you still going to get the result that you wanted as well, though? Because that was a damn shame if you didn't get that and this was a bonus.
Well, if I told you that I've already lost an inch off my stomach and I am now going to the gym 5 times a week, doing around about 3/4 of an hour in the gym. And this morning, I did not want to go to the gym, but something kicked my ass up and I went because it was that choice. And I think this is really important. I think this is really the reason why I want to share this now is because when we've shared stuff before, we've looked at the past. This is our journey and we're reflecting on our past. So I'm doing this from being in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I've got to do this. And it's so I'm we're doing live therapy today, or live therapy review. Okay. So no pressure, Tracy. Right. Okay. Where was I? All right. So I had the session. So went to the gym. And so that's where I am at the moment. I'm still going through this process. So as I say, it's not about the thing. And going back to what I was saying, this actually isn't about the weight loss, weight reduction. So I always felt that my weight was actually an anchor. I didn't see it as being physical. It was more metaphorical. It was, if I don't shift the weight or my stomach, if I don't physically transform, and that wasn't through vanity, it wasn't through anything else. It was, how can I show up as being the authentic me, the soul me, the person that's inside me, because they're not congruent. The person I feel isn't the person I see anymore.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah.
So there was something deeper inside me, a knowing, a thing, a feeling that said that the foundations have been laid, but you need now to move to that next level. And this is going to be really, really difficult, but you've got to do it. There's no way that you can move forward unless you transform the feeling you feel about the way you look. Now, it's not that I don't love myself. I am enough, all that sort of stuff. Okay. And that's why I'm saying this hasn't come from a vanity point of view. I'm more than happy to show up who I am, warts and all. I don't have a problem with that. We all have our issues. We all think, looking a bit fat today, or actually, I'm looking a bit drained. But I'm very accepting of that's what it is right now. Accept it, love it, embrace it. Okay, and I get
that. Yeah, because you see yourself, you see beyond that, don't you? Yeah. The point where we know we're enough, it's our soul that feels that.
Absolutely.
So almost in some aspects irrelevant how we look because we see beyond it.
And hopefully that will come full circle by the end of this podcast.
Right.
In what, just to give and that's what I'm doing as I go through this process. Right. So I'm very quickly just going to go through what's happened, a very quick thing and then go to the key points of yesterday. So
Okay.
I have a first session with Lauren. If anybody doesn't know rapid transformational therapy, you have hypnosis. You then go back to 3 scenes that are all to do with the feeling that you have in regards to the issue. Simple as. We then break that feeling away from the story and then install a new, more powerful feeling. That's the neuroplasticity. That is RTT 101 in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's like upgrading your phone.
It's upgrading your phone. Yeah, it's going from Windows 95 to Windows 10 so you can install TikTok. That's basically it. By the way, you can find me on TikTok at HypnoCoach on TikTok. I have done that just to cheese my kids off who are not on TikTok and think it is really bad that their dad is now on TikTok, but I'm doing it anyway because I am enough. Anyway, where was I? I've completely lost. Right, so I'm just going to tell you about the significant scene. Okay, so I don't have normal scenes anymore, and this is where I need anybody who's new to listening to this podcast or they're new to the concept of we are more than our bodies. Okay, so just go with me on this one. So this was my significant scene. I'd been having some pain in my kidney area probably about a month or 2 before I started this process, and I've been to the doctors, I've had blood tests, everything's fine, there's no issue. But this kidney issue started literally just before I left the police and has been there all the time. I'm drinking water, eating well, exercising. So there's no issues. There's no issues why I should have this pain. So there's something inside. I wonder if it's to do with my weight. I wonder if it's an indication. I wonder if it's a sign. That intuition.
Yeah.
And Marissa's actually going to be talking about intuition, isn't she, on our next masterclass? So I just had this intuition. Is it linked? I don't know. I need to. So it was as though that pain was saying, it was like that alarm. And I say to people, when you get pain, whether it be physical or emotional, think of it as an alarm clock. It's your body, it's your soul, it's your energy saying something's up. You need to do something. It's not bad. It's just saying something's up. So anyway, the scene. As I went into the scene, my back started to arch and I got this pain in my back, which is familiar, often happens.
Yeah.
And as I looked up, I was underwater and it was clear blue sea. And as my vision went out, I could see like blackness at the side of me. And I literally went round and felt my back and it felt quite damp. So as Lauren's working with me, I just said, it's blood. I've been stabbed. And as I looked up, there was a yacht, beautiful yacht. One of these wooden yachts like you see at Monaco. It's like beautiful yacht. And I could see 2 figures. And my book is called Drowning Anxiety. I'll just segue this in, by the way. So I've had other scenes around drowning, past life and present life. You know this already. I think we've mentioned it. Okay, yeah. So you can see where this is kind of going. This is like, oh, this is weird. Okay, so as we envelop this scene, I'm kind of in the body. So I'm looking up. So it's as if I'm in that body. Now, normally, most of the scenes that you have, you're visualizing them like a camera or on a TV screen, aren't you? I was actually in the body, but it was as if the body was dead, but the soul was alive. Okay, so I was kind of, it was as if I was connecting to my soul at that point, and it was me. Absolutely felt like this is me. I've had this feeling before. It was definitely me. So as we envelop the scene, anyway, it rolls out. This is the scene. I've had, this, we talked a lot about money blocks. We talked a lot about I'm enough, can I push myself? Should I, we've both been on that kind of journey ourselves, and a lot of people do. And so this scene was about abundance. Now, given the fact that what I was doing this was for weight reduction, okay, this scene was about showing me that I was once slim, attractive, abundant with money, loved and liked.
Right.
And what happened was in this scene as it enveloped is that my wife at the time, this was based in the 1920s, by the way, so it was a past life. My wife had been having an affair with somebody and had stabbed me in the back, literally stabbed me in the back and pushed me overboard.
She had or he had?
She had. She had. Now, I don't know why, But then
She
I
wanted a
had,
lot.
yeah. So I had this. So what that kind of linked in was a certain, and again, I'm being really honest, but a certain resentfulness of women, which is really weird because I actually get on with women quite well. You know,
Yeah.
I'm in a job now that is pretty much female dominated, but always as a white male got really, really pissed off that we have these processes where if you're a female, lesbian, black, you know, all this positive discrimination as a white
Yeah.
male. And this is where I'm saying, I know, I am not a racist, by the way. I'm just saying it as it is. There are a lot of men out there that feel slightly disempowered because
Yeah.
we were empowered, you know, through the 80s. Through it's always been white men have ruled the roost. They've been empowered. That's the power, and that's shifting. And absolutely, that should be right. But there's something in me that has always gone. This seems unfair because it should be on the person and how good they are. It shouldn't be on sex, gender, ethnicity. It should be, is that
Yeah.
person the right
Absolutely.
person for the job and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I want to put some context in that. You know, I'm not a racist, I do believe, but I always had this underlying feeling that it seems a bit unfair now. We've gone the other way, whether that be positive discrimination for BAME, you know, whether that be for women. You know, I've never seen people as a color, a sex. I've always seen people's souls. I guess that's what it is.
Yes, that's exactly it, isn't it?
So yeah, so that's always kind of. So it's not about me. Woe is me. I'm a white man. It's why are we cutting people up? Why are we treating people different? I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get the excuse.
No, I don't understand why it's like there's only one space at the top. So the men were there. Now we've knocked them off, and someone else is there. Why can't we be on the same platform?
Knights of the Round Table. Everybody has an equal voice. Yeah, exactly. So I'm with that. And this will again, this will come in. So that's always a feeling that I've had. Okay, that feeling's been there. But then I've had this resentment feeling at the same time, which has been completely. It didn't feel right because I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
So to cut a long story short, what that scene was that I was mistrusting of people, and especially women, because I've been stabbed in the back. Now, whether that metaphorically and physically, okay. So that kind of light bulb moment, boom, that's where that's come from. How ridiculous, how stupid, yada, yada, yada. You see it differently. Now, whether that happened, whether that it's a reality, we're not even going to go there. That's what came up. I'm just being honest. So here's how we go forward now with the transformation. You are abundant. You can have that slim, amazing body. You've had it before in your past life, yada, 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 yada. Okay.
Yeah. That's
it. Makes perfect sense. Now, when I'm looking at going for not that I eat that much chocolate, but when I'm going for the carbs, because I'm doing keto and all the rest of it, I go, no, because I got that slim, abundant body. I've had it before. I can have it again. Everything's available to me. So you've got something to grasp on. You've got that picture that you can paint in your head, which I just couldn't do. I couldn't paint the picture. But now I'd been given a picture. Where that picture come from, God, universe, I made it up, irrelevant. Doesn't matter. Okay. So we're all sorted. So I have a discovery call with Lauren before my next RTT session, because she always does multiple. Okay. So we've got it planned out. Between the discovery call and the session, so we get on the call yesterday, and she went, so right, this is what we're going to do. This is your magic wand. This is that. I went, I don't know, something feels different. And she's like, oh my God. I was like, never work with a therapist. We are the worst clients in the world. And I went, no, just bear with me. Anyway, so we do it. Go down the 10 steps, do all that, and my mind starts going all over the place as it does, and you sink into it. When you've done RTT as many times as probably me and you have done, you kind of just go with nothing is logical. Whatever comes up, comes up.
Yeah.
First scene. Imagine do you know what a wormhole is?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine like a wormhole. For those that don't know, wormhole it's a place in space where you can go from A to B quickly. It's like Star Wars and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going down this wormhole and all these lights, and then all of a sudden, it just, and this is as we're doing the, you're going back to a scene, place, event, and time, which is all to do with. And then I get space, just stars. Had this before, nothing new. Quite a happy feeling. I love it when it happens. It's like, oh, the universe is telling me something. This always works. Amazing. So then all of a sudden then, in the middle of what is just like peace, serenity, stars, no feeling, I then get this, what I can only describe as a galaxy in the shape of a brain, and it's pink. Okay. At which point, in my head, I'm going, honestly, Marcus, I'm sure you must have taken LSD at some point, because how these images come into your head, I really don't know. But I'm enjoying it. It's great. Go with it. Anyway, so to just fast forward it, I then get an image of an elephant. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned the elephant thing before. Have I mentioned the elephant thing before? So I had RTT for something else before, and I was a baby elephant. So animals always come up every now and again.
Actually, I think you might have.
I think I might have mentioned this again. So anybody who's listening to this, there is a point. Just stick with me, even if your head is getting slightly messed up and you think I'm crazy. So every time I have a significant shift in my life, an animal shows up: hawk, bear, wolf. Gorilla's the main one, but the two are, if I'm going through something that is really painful and I'm hurting, it's always a gorilla, and it's always a gorilla's eye, and then it's always an elephant's eye. And if anybody can explain this, please do. But on this scene, my head was in between the tusks of this elephant. Now, these tusks were huge. They literally curled round. Okay, this elephant was massive. My head was in between the tusks, and the elephant was right there. Okay. So again, this is bizarre. This is weird. This is strange. Third scene. Normal scene. Whoop whoop. Right. So this scene has kind of come up. It's never come up with this scene. It's come up as a memory, and I remember it. And it was when I was probably about 10 or 11, and I used to play football. So my brother nearly turned professional footballer. So I was kind of always on the football team by virtue of my brother was like the school football captain, the cricket captain, just the jock that kind of everybody liked. Okay. So I was at football. I mean, it was winter. We do winter training. It was inside. And I was a bit of a porky kid. Okay. It's not that I still did exercise. I did a lot of cycling, but I always had weight. And at the time, I just didn't feel, I didn't feel good enough. And those feelings came back. Now, I'd never had experienced those feelings before. And I'm going to admit, I cried in this session. Okay. The emotion came out. Yeah. And so basically what it was is I didn't want to be there anymore. I felt different. I wasn't slim like or fit like the other guys. I wasn't as good as anybody. It's obviously complete bullshit. But I was then making myself sick. But in this scene, I was watching it as if I was watching it through a CCTV camera. So it just popped in my head. So the way I explained it to Lauren was, if anybody's seen The Truman Show.
Yes.
Okay. So, the guy who runs The Truman Show, he kind of sits in that gallery and watches Truman.
The guy from Apollo.
Yeah. That guy, the guy from Apollo. So I was kind of the guy from Apollo watching this unfold. And it was very much like The Truman Show, but I was like really connected to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, this is interesting. I can understand where that might fit in with weight reduction and all the rest of it. But one of the things that I'd also had is, I think I've mentioned this before, is that probably about 12 months ago, I had like a demonic experience. So a demon face that came in when I did RTT. And this is where the shadow work comes in. So one of the things that we worked out was in my original session that I had with Lauren, every time we did RFPI, so RFPI is where you go to that part, that feeling, and you work out where that feeling's come from. Every time we did that, we got this tremendous static on the line. So every time that she went to the place where the issue was, got this tremendous static. So at this point, we get this tremendous static again. And Lauren is good. Once we've done this, Lauren's going to come on the podcast and we're going to talk about all this anyway. And we got used to it. And Lauren's reaction to this now is, oh, here we go again. Just fuck off. We've kind of accepted that there was this energy, there was this shadow side that was kind of interfering. And this is where it does get a bit weird when we talk about this. But honestly, I was there. I was feeling it. I was, and this is quite difficult for me to say because I'm like, this just sounds bloody crazy. Anyway, I digress. So as we're dealing with this shadow, she's in South Africa. Zoom freezes. Okay, so I just come out of hypnosis, which by the way, if anybody had hypnosis, that's just a proof that you are in complete control. Because I just came out of it. I knew intuitively that I needed to. Lauren was just there on screen, kind of sort of frozen. So I ended the call, WhatsApped her and goes, let's go back into this. So we go back into it. What happened next was very bizarre. Now, you're going to have to bear with me because it was so bizarre that I've kind of written it down, and I might not get this in order. And hopefully when Lauren comes down, she'll be able to explain it. But all I will say is this next section, Lauren was writing so much that her head got so messed up that she had to stop writing. So we go back to the session and she takes me down the 10 steps and we just do it. So we've had that scene. And Lauren goes, okay, I think we've got enough scenes here. Tell me. So the next thing we do is left hand, right hand, isn't it? So we look at, tell me about the scenes and how do they link to your life? This is where it's going to get a little bit crazy, everybody. And this is kind of where the Donald Walsh thing might come in. Is it my mind replaying something? I don't know. So we go to left hand, right hand. And Lauren asks the question, what is it in these 3 scenes that has made you feel that you can't lose the weight? And this is my answer. I need you to listen to me. This is God speaking.
God.
I know. This is the reason why I didn't want to tell you. Okay, so this is weird, isn't it? Okay. Can you understand why I'm like really nervous about doing this? Okay.
Okay, go on.
I'd listen to, if anybody's read or they've listened to the Audible version of Neil Donald Walsh, you'll see where I'm going. This is just me going, I've listened to Neil Donald Walsh and my mind's just playing around with me.
Yeah.
So but I just go with it because I say to all my clients, whatever comes up, you do RFPI and you go, it goes back. If the first word in your in your mind is jam sandwich, then that's the right word. Okay.
Yeah.
If it's Marmite, it's the right. It doesn't matter. So I went, okay, let's just go with this. Let's play with it. Let's see where we go. So Lauren's going, okay. There are some things that you need to understand. And then I get, let me speak. Okay.
Because you were arguing?
No. This is, so imagine I am literally like a speaker and things are speaking through me. All right.
But were those 2 different?
Yeah, there's 2 different entities, right? Okay.
Right, okay.
So one, let's just pretend.
Yeah.
One was God, the universe, something.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what. Let me speak. This was my shadow. This is my shadow.
Right.
Which we now call the shadow, which I first thought was a demon, which I then thought was something else. But we're going to call it the shadow. It was the shadow. We found that out. It's my shadow side. I have had my fun. I have played my games. It is unfair that I continue this now. My soul then comes out and says, I'm scared. So we start to do the dialogue. We start to kind of talk. It's like having a 3-way conversation. Okay. This is the bit that was just blew my mind. Okay. My shadow side said, I am so sorry. And I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember the exact words, but it was, I am so sorry for not mentoring and coaching you for what you needed in this life. So it's not talking to me, it's talking to my soul in this life, me in this life, but my soul in this life.
Yeah.
And I, as me, third party me, as Marcus, is kind of watching this as well. And this is what screwed my head up. And before I say this, I'm just gonna look at what our perceptions are from genetics and energy. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. So when we talk about problems, and I was listening to a podcast from Lewis House today, and they were talking about depression and can it be genetic? You know, can it be genetically passed on? Are your genes part of your problem? If you are, if you come from a family of people who have got mental health issues, you're more likely to have it. It's in your genes. We know that's bullshit now. We know that that's not false. Neuroscience is starting to do that, and we can change that, and that's what we do now. Okay, so the other theory from that is that it's not genetic, it's energy. So everything is energy, therefore we pass that. So we just change the energy. We know that. Okay, that's what we're told. That's what law of attraction, all that sort of stuff. So we're quite happy with that. If anybody's not sure of it, there's research, there's books. Science is starting to prove now that we can change our neurons, we can change our body, we can do all that. Okay, there's enough work out there. However, this is what freaked me out. If anybody's seen, I haven't seen it yet, but Greg Braden, if anybody doesn't know Greg Braden, he's another one of those things. And he came up with this concept. And I think it was Manchester Metropolitan University have done a study on this. Some mathematician has done some study that basically he's come up with this theory, and it's kind of backed with science, that we are literally Sims. So one of the theories about life is that there is another entity out there, our soul, that comes into this world to experience life. We can't experience life as our soul as where we are. And one of the things that came up was that my soul wanted to go back. It didn't want to stay here. It wanted to go back, wherever that is. Okay.
Right, okay.
Okay. Can you see how this can be quite confusing? So my soul has been, even though the child is upgraded, okay, the soul was still scared, and it was looking to its mentor, which was the shadow. Now, this isn't in Carl Jung's work about the shadow and the ego, but what it was basically saying is there's two parts of our soul, and this is what God was trying to explain. Whatever, I'm going to call it God just because it's easier. This message that was coming through was saying we are not, we have a soul here, and imagine that soul is an apprentice. It's a new person that's come from wherever to experience life. It's never experienced life as that new soul. Now, we always think incarnation, isn't it? That's one of the things that we just keep being incarnated until we get it right. But what I was being told, what was passing through me, and this is why I couldn't have made this up, okay? Because this is, my brain isn't clever enough to make any of this up. So what it was saying was that the soul comes, and when a soul from a past life dies, it goes back and becomes a mentor to come back to show you the mistakes of the past. Okay? So imagine that somebody, you're a soul, an energy, the thing that you are inside has gone through the life, made the mistakes, made the whatever it is, and the body dies, the physical body dies, and the soul, the energy, goes back to wherever that place is, and is then partnered up with a new soul that hasn't been experienced life, a virgin soul. And the role of that soul is to mentor you, to tutor you, that voice inside you that we don't listen to, but when we become more enlightened, we start to listen to that inner voice. The inner voice is the shadow, is the ego, which is mentoring the new soul. However, that soul, that mentor that was there, sent from God, let's call it an angel.
Okay.
You see where I'm linking this in? So let's call that guide, that spirit guide, that mentor.
Let's call it spirit guide.
Spirit guide, angel, but it's actually part of your soul. It's not part of your, it's your angel, your spirit guide is your soul from your past life. That's basically what God was saying to me. And the reason why this spirit guide was apologizing was because it was trying to get back to its soul, its life, trying to create its old life. So the reason why up to this point I was getting quite frustrated with my weight reduction, the reason why is because my soul in this life was being pulled because it was being guided by a soul that wanted the life that it had. And this soul didn't want that life. It wanted to create its own life. Going back to the deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery, but a process of creation. So to take that phrase, my old soul was trying to discover how it could have got its old life back and be better. And then the next bit is, you are not discovering yourself, but creating anew. Seek, therefore, not to find who you are, but seek to determine who you want to be. Now, this is really profound, that statement. That was the first thing that came up on Google, because it kind of is the answer to what the soul was saying, the old soul was saying. And it wasn't listening to God because it thought it was God. Because if you listen to Neil Donald Walsh's audios, if you listen to his, I can't remember what the book's called, Conversations with God, it talks about you are the creator, you are God, you are spirit, and when it says in the Bible that you are God created man in his own image, we interpreted that as the physical image. So what he says in the book is that you don't have when they say, why did God create war? Why did God create evil? Why did God create this? God didn't create it because God created you in his image with all his powers. Therefore, you created God. And God's message, I'm going to use the God, universe, whatever you want, just insert your belief system here. So what he's saying is that God is there only to give you advice when you are willing and open to listen. Now, when we talked about resistance and trying to find the answers, trying to discover the answer, and we know now that the less you do, the more you can receive, although that is completely counterintuitive, but we both know that works.
Yeah,
that when
absolutely.
you focus on a problem, affirmations don't work, because when you say, if you don't feel what you think, you can't manifest it.
No.
And you have to send the bottle out into the ocean.
Yeah.
And if you concentrate on the bottle coming back, the waves will come up. I still got that in. We've mentioned that loads of times. And this was the same thing, is that the shadow side, the old soul, was blocking the manifestation of the new soul. And the new soul was confused because it was saying, I don't want that. I don't want your life. So the shadow side was coming in. The shadow side was creating the weight. It was keeping me grounded. The shadow side was keeping me where I was because it was trying to discover instead of mentoring the new soul on how to create.
Do you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of parents who try to live their life through their kids.
Yeah, absolutely. It was basically that, but it was a more spiritual, soulful level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So very much that is a physical manifestation in many ways of kind of what happened. However, we go further.
Okay.
And I've got to remember this.
Stay with us, people.
Stay with us. Okay. I know this might be really, really hard. And believe you me, I'm still trying to get this concept in my head. And it could be complete bullshit. But there's something inside me that goes, wow. Anyway, so this was the next bit. God speaks again.
Okay.
God speaks again. I've got to get this right, because this was when we get Lauren on, okay, when Lauren comes on after we've gone through all this stuff, this was the oh my god fuck moment that Lauren came up with. Yeah, even though I have my eyes closed, I can just imagine her like with her head on a desk going, I've lost complete control over this. I don't know what's happening. So let me try and get this right. And this was quite poetic. This was coming out of my mouth. And Lauren, after I'd said it, Lauren went, if you don't put this in a book, you are stupid. I'm going, but I won't remember any of it. So it was something like this. God spoke and God said, your job is not to, your body is the theater. Your job is not to be the actor in the play, but to go out and get the actors to bring you the story to create something new. Okay.
Huh?
Exactly. So we paused, and this is how I've kind of interpreted it, and Lauren got it. So, and this is a bit of law of attraction stuff. This is where it kind of, I'm linking it into a bit of law of attraction. Let's say, I'll give an example. Let's say you are lacking in money.
Okay.
You need money.
Yeah.
And we can drill that down to peace, freedom, all that bullshit we've done before.
Yeah.
Okay.
How many more?
That's the thing that you want. You're missing something. We now know that you don't receive money. You receive experiences that stacked together will bring something into your life which will create that feeling. So I know Gabby Bernstein says this because when she does her meditations and stuff, and it's bring me X, Y, and Z or something better.
Yeah.
So obviously you don't, one of the biggest things is people, I want this, and they're very matter of fact, and I need this, and that's the resistance. And I know that things flow into your life that get you to a stage of not what you want, but what you need. Because often what we want isn't what we need. And when we listen to our bodies and we let go, we often don't know what we want. We only know what we think we want based on other people's experiences, not our own. Going back to this, the deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery, but a process of creation. And sometimes you can't create something that you don't know. How did somebody create electricity? How did somebody find that radio waves? Nothing existed until it was found. And often it was found not by purposefully looking, but by it just being. So what that was saying is that your body is just a theater. It's just it is. Bob Proctor says it's not I'm hand, it's my hand. So your body is just a theater. It's just a vessel. And you're pulling in the actors. So if we go to Think and Grow Rich and we look at the mastermind principle, okay, you can't do it on your own. We know that. That doesn't mean that you have to be like somebody else, but you pull in the things that you need to manifest what you need.
Yeah.
So Neil Donald Walsh talks about creation as in you want to create a brand, you want to create this, you want to create that. But actually, I don't think that's what it's about. It's not about, I want to be an amazing RTT therapist. I don't want to be. They're all tools. They're things. So what I think it's saying is that you are the director to create for others. And we talk about service. And when they say about giving things away, it's not about creating things in your life. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, because it's really difficult to explain. I can feel it, but I can feel it now, but I can't maybe enunciate it. But what he's saying is that your job is not to create the thing. Your job is to engage and get connection with other people. So together you create something.
So you're like the facilitator,
the director, the producer.
Yeah.
We are all facilitators, but we choose to be the actor. So this is where the creator thing comes in, is that the whole process of us being in the body, being here, and this is why it kind of makes sense, is that everybody is on a journey. So everybody maybe throughout their lifetimes plays the part of an actor and learns the part of that actor before they become the creator. And when you look at life, that's pretty meaningful of life. And maybe we've got it confused. It's because we're born and we need to play that role of a baby. We need to play that role of a young child. We then need to start to conform and play the role that society tells us. We then need to play the role of getting a job, getting a pension, and then we die. And we know that that's not spiritually connected. But where did that come from? It came from religion. It came from rules. But where did they come from? They came from interpretations from God, a facilitator. But did we mishear what God, the universe, was saying in regards to the fact that we believe that we've got to be an actor because we're being told that we've got to be an actor? Now, if you go back to my soul, the old soul was trying to be the facilitator, making my present soul the actor. It wasn't allowing my soul now in this life to be the director, to be the facilitator, to be that. It was saying, I didn't get my chance to properly facilitate. I messed up. My ego, my shadow got in the way, and I need to make that right. And it took over from being a mentor to not listening to God and not doing what God's will was to be there to help the next soul to be the facilitator, to be the manifester. So it was forcing me to be an actor, to play a part in somebody else's theatre, instead of being the director, the producer, the facilitator in my own theatre, in my own life.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let that settle. Can you imagine doing this as an RTT session yesterday, being the therapist, okay, and this is all spilling out of my mouth? How could I literally make this up?
Well, so this is the thing I'm struggling with, because I'm like, I've had sessions before when sometimes I doubt whether, am I saying this because it's what my subconscious thinks, or am I saying it because I consciously think that's the issue? But what you're talking about is so far from really anything to do with what your session was supposed to be about, that it makes you think, well, you can't have just gone, your conscious mind can't have come up with something, or can't have come up with that if it wasn't happening. But then the other part of me is like, no, that's all wrong, because the shadow can't just go rogue and go, do you know what, I don't feel like
But this is my point, is that when we look at the shadow, and the ego, we see that as part of intrinsically being part of maybe the soul. I haven't done that much work on this, but I kind of understand it that there's two parts to us. There's our ego and there's our shadow. And our shadow is that we're told is where the dark side is what Carl Jung talks about, our secret desires, that murderer, that whatever it is. And many things in therapy, and many therapists will go, everything's fine, everything's brilliant, my life's amazing, I'm manifesting everything. And I see straight through that and go, nobody can be that happy, because we have a dark side, we have those dark feelings, and you have to, it's about balance. There is no right or wrong. You have to go through the darkness to see the light. And actually Neil Donald Walsh talks about this in Conversations with God, when he asks, well, why is there war, why is there this, why is there that? And he says, how do you know love unless you've felt rejection? How can you feel happiness if you haven't felt pain? The whole purpose of being on earth, being in this body, is to experience things that we can't experience as energy. It's just different forms of energy. So you can't have one without the other, the yin and the yang, whatever you want to call it. So anybody in my mind that says, I'm not going to do anything with shadow, and I'm not going to admit to myself, I'm not going to shine a light on the shadow and say, I see you. And anybody who's listening to this, you cannot say this is bullshit, because there is a voice inside you. There's a secret desire. There are those things inside you that you do not want to know about. You do not want to tell people about. Whether that be something as, I'm going to say simple, for some people I know this isn't simple, that actually you're gay or you're bisexual, or maybe, like I said before, that I had this intrinsic thing in my shadow about women, that I hated women, that I don't, but there was something inside me, my shadow side, I shouldn't feel that. And that's the reason why I say it. It's the reason why I said the things about my feelings about equality, and as a white male, you can feel as suppressed as other people. I shouldn't say that. Society tells me, as a white privileged male, I should not be out saying that. But that's my shadow, and I'm shining a light on my shadow, and I'm saying to my shadow, I hear you, and I'm going to express that, and I'm going to say it. Because when the shadow is heard and it's seen like a small child, I often think of that child within the inner child as the shadow in many ways. But I always thought that that was part of the soul. It was part of who you are. It's the yin and the yang. It's the dark and the light. But then this was completely different, because it said that the shadow and either the ego or the light or the soul or whatever you want to call it, those two halves, one is your soul now. Your shadow is your mentor from the past, which is there to teach you about when the mistakes it has been made. Now, then, if you go back to the whole thing of psychology about the fact that our brain is 75% negative, that would make sense, because maybe the shadow that, when your brain grows, it grows outwards, and that the amygdala, that center part of your brain where the cortisol, that's going to grow first as it grows out. Well, that would make sense, because if the shadow has got all the knowledge and is working on its negative past to try and give you a lesson, but doesn't, then that's why we think more negatively. Our shadow's in play. But it was this difference that it said that the shadow is there to support you as a mentor, not as part of who you are. It's come through you. So I kind of then went, okay, where do I go with this? So let's look at it from a Christian point of view. Okay, got a Christian background, don't go to church. But Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. So let's put those into this now, into the mix. So let's say the Father is God. It's the whispering. It's the creator, the universe. Okay? The Son has been there before. The Bible talks about this. Jesus came onto the earth and gave his sins so that we may learn from that, the shadow. The Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the facilitator, the other side of it as well. So the light and the dark. So I've got all these things going in my head, from religion, from all the stuff we do with neuroscience, all the stuff that we do with RTT. And all of a sudden I get bombarded with all these different things coming in. And it always to do with weight reduction. So can you see why I was really nervous about doing this? And I'm not saying that these are any answers. I'm just literally I'm explaining an experience. And I have my own possible theories. But my feeling says, Marcus, don't even think about it. It was just a guide. It was just a concept. It's just making you think. But I needed to get it out. There was something that just said, this is stupid. This is crazy. I need to explain this. Just tell me what you're thinking. Because obviously we're on a podcast. Tracy is just looking at me on Zoom as if her brain has just melted. She doesn't. I said to her before this, I said, there's two things. You're going to have like an epiphany, or you literally are going to think I'm crazy. Now, she did say, I thought that a long time ago. Just talk. Let me stop.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. As Marcus has said, this is all massively new to me, which is why I'm sitting here kind of frowning and whatever at him, like I don't really know what to say. But first of all, this isn't, I don't know what I was expecting, but this really isn't anywhere near what I was expecting. I'm massively confused. And the annoying thing is, I almost wish you didn't tell me, because now my mind is dramatically like running around left, right and centre trying to make sense of it. And I'm not sure that I'm ever going to be able to. So thanks for that.
Hence the reason why I thought, should I do this or shouldn't I? But I thought, well, if I'm going through this, you can go through it as well.
You drag me down.
as you as an audience can as well. And actually, at this point, I would love, you can come to the Facebook page, talking_minds, or you can, contact me or Tracy via our socials or anything like that. If you are listening to this, I would love even if it's Marcus, you are completely screwed up and you need to go and take some pills and whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah, some feedback.
Has anybody else experienced it? Has anybody else had this feeling? Has anybody else gone through this process? Is there anybody else who's further on the path than me? Is there anybody else that has gone, oh my God, that makes complete sense to me now? Is that a puzzle piece? That's just...
I just don't think that's possible.
Well, this is what Lauren said. Lauren said maybe you've just unraveled.
I don't know.
I know, neither do I, and I can't accept that I've just unraveled something.
No, I think the biggest problem I have is a lot of that goes against my core beliefs.
Yeah, so have I disrupted your core belief?
No,
Okay.
because I'm sitting here going, no.
Tell me why, though. Tell me why it's not possible, because that's what I'm trying to work out.
I know diddly squat about shadow.
Okay.
In the sense that you're talking about, okay? So part of me wants to go, dip, shut it down, doesn't exist, because it's completely unfamiliar to me. And it's probably that part that's like, no, because if you forget the fact of the shadow, then you're bonkers. Everything you've just said, how do I put it? If I think that the shadow doesn't exist, right, and I go back with my core beliefs that we have an inner being that is guiding us, and when we are aligned with that inner being, everything is going good, and that they're here to ensure your highest good. And if you're feeling bad, it's because you're completely out of line. That is where my belief system lives. And
okay, let me ask you a question then.
Go on.
Because that is the one part that we talked about. That's where people want to be. That's the light. That's where it is. People don't want to go into the dark. You've already admitted by the very thing that you've just said that you're going from the dark into the light. Yeah? You're in a place and you're trying to find that place where you feel happy, you feel abundant, you feel that. So you've got to go from somewhere to somewhere. You've got to feel, there's got to have been a start point of pain for you to feel pleasure. So if the shadow doesn't exist...
Yeah, but that's just life experiences.
But what is that in a feeling? How does that manifest itself? A life experience is also a happy experience. But I'm not talking physically. I'm talking inner. I'm talking souls. I'm talking energy. If you want to take electricity, polarity, there is a negative and there is a positive. Newton's theory of relativity. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah, and I do agree that there is an opposite to everything.
So where is the opposite created?
So I feel like no one can see this, but I need to use my hands to describe it. So I feel like your inner being versus demon on a horizontal plane, right? In my head, there's inner being and being away from the inner being on... I don't know how you would put that. It's still horizontal, but coming from me, away from me. So when I am away from my inner being, that's when I feel pain.
Yeah. So if we put that into perspective,
I don't see it as two different entities. Just a feeling of...
Yeah, no, yeah, I see, yeah, and that is where the shadow and the ego, that soul, we see the soul as one entity.
Yeah,
we see the soul as one entity, and that I was with you. I'm with you completely up until yesterday. That was my belief, because that's what we're told. That's what we feel. It feels right, and this is why this has completely disrupted my head in regards to this. And remember, we're talking about this logically now. I was in hypnosis and I was going through this in an alpha state. So I was experiencing this. This wasn't just a conversation. This wasn't just words. I was experiencing this process. And I guess that's the difficulty. And this is why RTT is so powerful, because it's about that thing, but it's the concept. And again, if you're going to build a house of abundance, you don't go from bare to house. You've got bricks, you've got pipes, you've got electricity. Everything builds the thing.
Yeah.
So my point is I guess what I'm saying is that the lightness and the darkness, and I'm actually going to then bring this into reality and give an example, is that if this is true, I'm not saying it is, I'm just saying what I experienced, is that if the shadow side of us is a mentor that's already been a soul and lived a life and is there to guide our true soul, if we get a good guide, then maybe we have a good life. If we get a bad guide, maybe I've got a bad guide, it's more of a struggle, or maybe that's something we need to go through. It doesn't matter. But let's look at it this way. If you've got a boss, a manager, let's take Marissa. Let's take Marissa. Okay. Marissa is here. We look up to Marissa. She's guiding. She's that guide. She's that mentor. We have felt what RTT does, but what then happens is, and again, this is in Think and Grow Rich. What happens if we then eclipse that, and what we're told doesn't feel like a truth? And that's the same in our physical life as well. So for me to break through where I am now, I've been listening to my inner guide, my inner coach. I've been listening to that thing, but that coach has been telling me the wrong information, because that coach is basing it on a life that it had before, and it wasn't looking after my soul in this life. It was looking after its own ego. It was looking after its own thing. Go on.
I would say two things there. Well, it was kind of three, but the first is joint. So the reason that I don't like looking at them as two separate entities is because that's incredibly disempowering. As you just said, if you get a shadow that sucks, it goes rogue, right? That has just literally, I can almost feel the power being pulled out of my chest.
Okay.
Whereas that quote, when you listen to it and you read it and you digest it, is massively empowering, because that quote that you've read a couple of times now literally says it's all in your hands.
But you see, let me give you a different angle. I agree, and that's where I was. So let me give it you from a different angle.
Right.
When you realize that the thing that was stopping you in this life, your soul, the thing that we know, is just bad advice. And that the deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery, but a process of creation, i.e. the voice that's telling you how to do it and you're not aligned and you don't feel that that's right. You can say, no, this is my life. I am the creator. I'm not looking to discover the answers from you, because that's only your perspective on your life that you did before. So you can bring that absolutely into your own life. So you said that the parent-child thing before, your parents living through their child. So a parent will see that child's life from an experience, from an angle, but who says that that parent is right?
Well, they never are, because they should live their own.
And I think this is what this goes down to, is that let's just forget all of the soul. Let's do this. Let's go. God doesn't exist. Get rid of him. God doesn't exist. The universe doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. Bear with me. I'm going somewhere. Okay. If all that doesn't exist, then religion doesn't exist. Never has. If religion doesn't exist, most of our societal values, most of our politics is based on religion. We know that. The politics. We get rid of the politics. Whether that be politics in a bigger sense or politics within our family groups, politics within our workplace. It disappears.
It's all ego.
All of a sudden, that hierarchy that we look to, that higher power, flattens, becomes circular, and we become equal, infinite. And
Yeah.
then we stop discovering by looking outwards, and we start discovering by looking inwards.
Inwards.
And we don't look for being an actor in the play. We start to look to be the creator, the facilitator,
The
to
director.
work with others, and the director to create play.
Well, there you go.
Shall we end it there?
Well, it seems like a really good point too, but I still got my second point that I really want to say.
Go on.
So I completely screw it up. In the event, and I'm not doubting this happened, because I said I don't think it's just not possible you could have made it up. But my question would be, how the hell do I get rid of that shadow? Because it's not serving me. And it just completely screwed me over for the last 40-something years. That would be my thing. You've gone into this going, right, this is about, and I know it's never about the thing, but well, it's never about the fact of what you eat. The weight is there for a reason. And if the shadow is giving it, and go on, just pile it on, which is completely unaligned to who you are as a person.
Yeah.
I'd be like, right, do one, but you need to now know how to make it do one.
Yeah, no, we've done that. That's so in the first session that came up, and we were doing that, and the fact of doing the second session, and both myself and Lauren going, no, we recognize, we see you that you're there, and we honor that you're there, and we honor that you've gone through this process, and we honor that you've done everything. It then goes, okay, I've had my time. I understand that I'm wrong.
That's why it said sorry.
And that's why it said sorry. Because what it was doing was, and this goes back to this God thing, what it was saying is I didn't listen to God. I was sent by God to help you. And this is where the devil theory might come in. Because what was the devil? An angel that stopped listening to God. Exactly. Let's leave it. Okay, this we're trying to unravel the universe here, and it ain't going to happen. So, for anybody who's listening to this and has kept with us this long, I feel as though I need to award you a certificate, a prize, or whatever. Do you know what? I would love your thoughts on this if you are listening to it. As you can see, it's kind of blown Tracy's mind. I'm still trying to work it out. Okay. And as I say, I've got my own theories, my own feelings. And I think the biggest thing with this is, and the hardest thing, and this goes back to why RTT is so powerful, is that I'm telling you this story because I've experienced it and felt it. I'm telling you a story which we're talking about logically, but I've connected a feeling to this. I went through an experience yesterday when I went through this. And this is often when it's quite difficult for people to, when you say something, when you become, I'm gonna use the word vulnerable, but use that vulnerability to go, listen, I'm gonna put this out there and just see what people think. And I absolutely accept anything that's gonna come my way, good, bad, or indifferent. And it's not about saying I'm right, I'm wrong. I'm just telling you an experience, and you can, I'd love if anybody's gone through this, if anybody else has kind of gone, oh my God, that makes complete sense, because Tracy's still looking completely bewildered. I'm
actually thinking I need to speak to Lauren and make sure she's all right.
Well, what we're going to do, right? So I don't know when this is going to happen, but we are going to get Lauren. She's already agreed to this, because me being me came straight out of it and went, we need to get this on a podcast. So Lauren has said, yes, she's more than happy to do it, but she wants to see this through to the end. She wants to get it in her own head, because as a therapist, and a very experienced therapist, Lauren's one of Marissa's trainers. She's very experienced in what she does with weight. And this is complete. This is something that has been new to her. So we've kind of got to look after each other on this journey, really, to try and unravel something. And she did say yesterday, I can't, although she heard it, she experienced it, she can't comprehend it. And although it kind of made sense, it didn't make sense. And it's going through what we're going through now. It's, well, is this just a have I just got the most amazing imagination in the world? Or is there some truth there? What is the reason why that's come up? What is the truth? And actually, the thing to do is just accept that it happened. and see what happens next.
Yeah, try not to analyse it. That's one of my big downfalls. I like to analyse everything.
Yeah.
But I don't think this can be. I think you're right. I think you have to just accept that it did happen, and you weren't sitting there going, "Oh, let's just throw a few curveballs in here," because nobody in their right mind would.
From where it started to where it went is kind of completely thing.
So
okay.
It absolutely happens.
Shall I wind up?
I think you should.
I'm going to wind up with the phrase that we started with, and I'm going to add something to it, I think. So, Neil Donald Walsh said, "The deepest secret is that life is not a process of discovery, but a process of creation. You are not discovering yourself, but creating yourself anew. Seek, therefore, not to find out who you are, but seek to determine who you want to be." Marcus Matthews adds to that by saying, "Move forward with no second guessing, no guilt trips, no hesitations. Your purpose is to recreate yourself anew in each moment. You're only ever a performer in someone else's show if you choose not to be the director of your own life. Open your heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit and listen. God, the universe, is giving you clues. The choice whether to listen is up to you." And on that, I'm going to say goodbye. Say goodbye, Tracy.
Goodbye from me.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, why don't you come and join us at facebook.com/talking_minds. And don't forget to give us a little like. Thanks very much for listening. See you soon.